Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today we're going to talk about how much it actually costs to transition. So this came upon me, like the idea just kind of struck me. I'm doing this video kind of late. I went to Walmart after work to pick up my prescription for hormones, and as I was paying for them, I started to kind of get curious, like, what's the actual cost? And I think a lot of people may not realize how expensive it costs to transition from one gender to another. Now, this is specifically going to be from the male to female standpoint because there are different costs associated with female to male that I'm just not familiar with, because that's not me. So, first one is the biggest one. Well, not the biggest one, but like the first one that you're probably going to incur. That's actually probably the cheapest, I guess, which is hormones themselves. Fruit fly. Hormones themselves. My hormones cost me about $50 a month, and that's going to vary depending upon your insurance plan or if you don't have insurance or, whatever the case is. But I spend about $50 a month in hormones. I've been on hormones for 15 months. I just picked up my 16-month prescription. So far I've spent about $800 on hormones, actually, and that cost will continue for the rest of my life pretty much. So, that's going to be, $600 a year for the next 50 years. So is it like 30 grand potentially in hormones? Is that math right? 600 a year times 50, yeah, $30,000 going forward for the rest of my life, which is really expensive. The next cost that you're likely to have are your actual doctor visits and doctor appointments. So I have to go to the doctor every 6 months for my follow-up and have my blood work done. And because this is a service related to my diagnosis, which is gender dysphoria, my insurance doesn't pay for that either because it is fantastic. So my doctor visit usually costs me about $100 for the actual doctor appointment. And then I spend about another $400 for the blood work. So every time I go, it's about $500 that I just have to write a check for because my insurance is so great. I've had 4 of these appointments so far, so I've spent $2,000 in doctor visits already. Yikes. The other cost is going to be laser hair removal if you decide to do that, which I have. I think it's really important, especially for your face, but everybody's different. You just never know. But so far, I've been doing laser hair removal for right at a year, maybe a little above, and I have spent about $1,200 in laser hair removal, and that is for my face, my belly, my chest, and my underarms as well, and it's still going to be an ongoing expense. It won't last forever, but I would expect to spend probably another $1,000 to $1,500 on laser hair before I am complete. By the way, helpful tip for you guys, if you are going to do laser hair removal, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you do a Groupon. You can get it way, way cheaper. The laser hair that I have had I not used Groupons, would have probably cost me like $4,000 or $5,000. So use a Groupon. Helpful tip of the day. So yeah, I've spent a couple thousand, or not a couple thousand, but probably like $1,200 to $1,500 so far in laser hair removal. Now, these are actually just the costs to part of the medical transition process. It also doesn't include things that I wasn't purchasing before, hair products, makeup, all sorts of things that I'm okay with. So I don't really count those as part of the transitioning process. But also, one thing I didn't expect or count on that nobody really warned me about was how expensive it was going to be to buy a whole brand new wardrobe. Most people accumulate their wardrobe slowly over years and then kind of replace an item here or there. But all of a sudden when I transitioned to full time, I was like, boom, I got to buy a wardrobe because I didn't have any. So I spent a lot of money on wardrobes and things like that. Probably north of $1,000 on a wardrobe as well because, girls got to have clothes. And I'm not talking in excess. I don't own a lot of clothes. I tried to buy nice, high quality items that would last me. But at the same time, I only have enough for 8 or 9 outfits, I think, barely a little over a week. I'm slowly working on that though. We're improving. It's just so expensive, I kind of have to space it out now. But the initial buy-in is really expensive. And of course, the biggest expenses are going to be surgeries if you elect to do so. Not everyone decides or needs surgery or wants surgery. But those are going to be the biggest expenses by far. For my top surgery, which I'm hopefully having in a few months, consultations are a month away, which is crazy. you can probably expect to spend anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000, just depending on like what kind of implants you get, like where in the country you go, which surgeons you use, etc. But yeah, 7,000 to 10,000. I'm expecting probably around the 9,000 to 10,000 range for myself. Once again, all out of pocket because insurance doesn't cover top surgery for trans people, or at least mine doesn't. The next one is facial feminization, which I also plan to do hopefully next year if the stars align and I have the money, which is going to probably be the most expensive of the 3 surgeries. It's going to cost probably somewhere between $25,000 and $40,000 for facial feminization surgery, which is going to hurt, to be honest with you guys. Like, I don't have that. And I don't know how I'm going to pay for that either at this point. Like, I have the money for the top surgery, but like the facial feminization, don't quite have a plan for that one yet. And then lastly is bottom surgery, which once again, my insurance does not pay for, which usually costs around $25,000 to $30,000, unless you decide to travel overseas, which I don't plan to do. It has like a bad vibe for me. I want to stay in the US. But yeah, so it's like another 25 grand. So to date, I calculate, not counting things like clothes and makeup and you know, like possessions in that nature, just on the medically transitioning part, to date, I have spent right at $4,000 to $5,000 so far over the course of the last 15 months. And like I said, the biggest expenses are yet to come. I'll have about another $25,000 to $30,000 in hormone expenses occurred over the rest of my life. And then I will probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of $65,000 to $75,000 worth of surgery costs. So yeah, transitioning is super expensive, and you know, that's why insurance companies and stuff really need to help trans people out with things like bottom surgery and hormones and doctor visits wherever they can, because it's expensive. A lot of people just cannot afford the costs of what it takes to, you know, medically transition all the way. A lot of people want to have bottom surgery or want to have facial feminization surgery, and it would make a huge difference on the quality of their life, but it's just something they'll never be able to do. They'll never be able to afford it. And I totally understand. And my heart really goes out to those people, because honestly, I'm just an average middle-class girl, and I'm struggling with these costs myself. So we will see what happens. But yeah, I have the money set aside for top surgery. I've been saving for a long time, but after that, I'm going to be into uncharted territory. Not sure how we're going to pay for facial or bottom surgery. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, transitioning is really expensive. So hopefully this video helps you guys out if you are just starting your transition and trying to figure out what it's going to cost you, or you know, what the implications financially may be, or if you are, you know, not trans and you're just curious, like, hey, I wonder how much that costs. Well, it costs a lot, and that's one reason why a lot of people hate on, you know, people like Caitlyn Jenner, for example, because she is wealthy and she has the means to do those things, but she doesn't really have, like, you know, that sense of knowing how privileged that she really is, when so many other trans people are struggling, they can't afford it. So, you know, just to kind of clue you guys in on some of that. Anyways, you guys, if this is your first time here and you are curious as to what the everyday life of a trans person looks like, or even if you're not trans and you're just curious, maybe you know someone who's trans, for whatever reason, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. It would really mean a lot to me, and have you join our community. Take part in the comments. This community is so amazing. You will learn so much. It's so loving and welcoming. If you don't believe me, just scroll down there and check it out. Anyways, you guys, I love you all so much. Till next time, be kind and make good choices. Bye-bye.